So tonight we are continuing with our series on sefirah, and this week is the week of Netzach. So we're going to explore this sefirah and what it means in our world, what it means as something, as an attribute that we're supposed to connect with in trying to emulate Hashem, in the fact that Hashem has this attribute of Netzach. So we're going to explore that tonight. And as an introduction, so the word Netzach comes from the word Nitzachon. Nitzachon means to be victorious. So it's about that we will win. Okay, and this is a midah, a trait of knowing that I need to be victorious. I refuse to be a loser. You know, we are the champions, my friend, and there's something ingrained in us that we're going to overcome whatever obstacles are going to come our way, and so the ability to overcome anything, any adversity. So this is all embedded in the midah of Netzach. So that's why the greatest thing that we need to that we're commanded to overcome is the Amalek. Okay? And that's why Amalek is connected to the war against Amalek is actually connected to the sefirah of Netzach. And we find this in a couple of things. First of all, the holiday in which we celebrate the destruction of Amalek is, of course, Purim, and because Haman was from the descendants of Amalek, and that the 72,000 people that we killed, those were all Amalekim that we were destroying, and so the Arizal says that the different holidays that we have, the different Shalosh Regalim, are all corresponding to the midot of Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet. So we have Pesach, which is corresponding to Chesed, and Shavuos, which is corresponding to Gevurah, and Sukkot, which is corresponding to Tiferet. And then he says we have the rabbinic holidays of Chanukah and Purim. The Chanukah and Purim are corresponding to Netzach and Hod, and that's what he says, that Purim is corresponding to Netzach, and Chanukah is connected to Hod. And that's why the Hod is connected to the Kohanim, and the fifth sefirah is Aaron HaKohen, and the fourth is Purim is connected to Netzach. Where do we see the Purim is connected to Netzach? So we say in Shoshan Yaakov, we say Shuasam Hayisa LaNetzach, V'sikvasam B'chol Dar V'dar. We talk about the Netzach, and really in the Navi when we learn about destroying Amalek, so Shaul is commanded to destroy Amalek, and he messes up and he doesn't kill Agag, and so it says when Shmuel comes to him and he says Netzach Yisrael lo yinachem v'lo yishaker, that the champion of Israel will never change his mind, and that this is why you made a mistake, because you misunderstood how to play out this character trait of Netzach. Okay, so this Netzach is all about destroying evil, destroying adversary, which is symbolized by Amalek. So that's where Netzach comes into play. Now, there's another meaning to the word Netzach, and that is that Nitzchi means something which is eternal. So first of all, this also connects to the war against Amalek, because it says in the Torah that Milchamal Hashem ba'Amalek min dar dar, that in every single generation there's going to be Amalek that's going to stand up against us, and we're being called upon to never give up. That as many years as it takes, that this is the eternal battle against evil, and we always have to show up. We always need to remain with this resilience. So on this note, so there's a third connotation of the word Netzach, that Rabbi Nachman said that he is connected to the midah of Netzach, because the gematria of Nachman is the same gematria as Netzach. Right? And so why is Rabbi Nachman all about Netzach? Because what was Rabbi Nachman's big thing? That ein shum yirush ba'olam klal. That his most important teaching was that there is no such thing as despair. There's no room for giving up, and this character trait, this is the element of Netzach, of never giving up. Because why would a person want to despair? Because things are going tough. When I'm trying to do something and it's not going the way I would like it to go, so that is exactly when I need my Netzach. That my impulse is to give up, And the Rabbi Nachman says, no. There is no, you cannot give up. There's no such thing as giving up. And so everything he represented about not giving up, this is all an expression of the midah of Netzach. Okay, so this comes with that not only am I going to overcome any kind of conflict, any kind of struggle that's going to come my way, but the strength that I have to overcome the adversaries is eternal. Okay? So, now to understand this on a little bit of a deeper level, so I want to understand how exactly Netzach works Kabbalistically. Okay, that in the scheme of the sefirah, so how does Netzach really fit into this picture? So we've learned, you're already accomplished Kabbalists by now, that we've learned about the different spheres, about Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferes. And so basically we learned that the difference between Chesed and Gevurah is Chesed is about saying yes, and Gevurah is about saying no. Chesed is kindness. Chesed is about expansion. Chesed is about sharing. Chesed is about giving. And so Gevurah is about abstaining. It's about saying no. It's about having self-discipline, right? So now, what is the connection between Chesed and Netzach and Gevurah and Hod? That the second level, the second tier of the sefirah is that, okay, you have this desire of Chesed, you have the desire to accomplish, you have this desire to move on, but what do you do when someone is trying to stop you? Okay, so then there's the yes, there's the sharing, there's the giving, and then somebody's trying to stop me from expanding, from giving. So Netzach says, just keep on going, just keep on pushing, and don't allow them to stop you. And similarly, when it comes to Hod, the Gevurah is the discipline, Gevurah is the saying no. So the saying no of within myself. So when it comes to saying no, when somebody is trying to stop me, then sometimes I have to just allow them. Like Hod is about surrender. So it's an opposite response to the fact that somebody is going to stop me. That if it's inside myself, it's going to be Gevurah. If it's relating to somebody else, so then surrendering to somebody else. Okay, so Netzach and Hod is the second tier of these same energies, which within myself was Chesed and Gevurah. So this is taking it to the next level to Netzach and Hod. So now there's two kinds of Netzach that I want to discuss. The first is the simple one. The first is that simply somebody is trying to stop me, somebody is trying to topple me down, and that's Amalek. And this is something that Rabbi Nachman always talks about. That there's something that whenever I'm trying to do anything, there's always going to be things trying to stop me. He calls this the miniot. That there's always things that are going to be in the way, and he would always say that there's always going to be miniyot, anything good, anything that's not so good is not going to have miniyot. But if I'm going to try to do something very holy, so by definition, so there's going to be some kind of push. Okay, or in other words, this is something that the Vilna Gaon said as well. That Chaim Volozhiner said that he has a tradition from the Vilna Gaon that a good way to know if something is good or something is not good. If you have a certain idea, and if it's very clear, everything is just very, very gleich, everything is very, very simple, very smooth, so then that's a sign that it's coming from the Yetzer Hara. That if it's coming from the forces of good, it's impossible that something from the forces of good are going to actually try to come into the world, and there's not some kind of adversary, there's not some kind of energies of evil which is going to which are trying to stop it, because by definition that's their job. When they see something good, so it's their job to try to stop that goodness. So that is where if I'm actually doing something good, so then there's going to be miniyot. And the part of life, if I want to accomplish anything, by definition, I need to overcome these miniyot. I remember hearing a story that somebody came to my Rosh Yeshiva of Nassim Finkel, Zechron Livracha, and so it was his brother-in-law, Binyamin Finkel, and one of his sons. They came to him together, and they both wanted him to write letters of approbation to different sefirah that they were writing. And so Binyamin Finkel, so he had written a book on lamdas and on sugyas, and his son had written a commentary on the Vilna Gaon's book on geometry. I think it's called Ayel Meshulash. That the Vilna Gaon, he wrote, I don't know why exactly, he wrote a book on geometry, and he was very well versed in all the different wisdoms and all the different kinds of understanding, and so he wrote a book about geometry, and so because it comes from the Gaon, so he wanted to publish something about it. So Nosson Tzvi told him that you know what the difference is between your book and your son's book, that when your son was writing his book, so the Yetzer Hara didn't bother him. Because when you're trying to do something holy, when you're trying to learn Torah, so then the Yetzer Hara tries to stop you. But if you want to publish a book on geometry, so then the Yetzer Hara will allow you to it's not it's a good litmus test. If you want to know if you see that something is going if something is going too easy, then it's a good sign that it's not actually so worthwhile. So this is that it's built into reality that if you're going to be doing anything good, so then there's going to be tribulations, there's going to be miniyot, there's going to be struggles. So now and that's a malak. That's the netzach of overcoming a malak. But there's also another kind of netzach that someone is trying to not stop me necessarily per se by doing anything, but someone is trying to just stumble on top of me. He's going to walk all over me. He just wants me to not exist. And my reaction is to be a pushover. My reaction is to just allow them to just ignore me and just use me as if I don't deserve anything. And this is the trap of people pleasers, and this is the trap of pushovers. Okay? And so that ability to stand up for myself, so this is interestingly also connected to the midah of Netzach. Now, it's an interesting thing because we've already spoken about this, and the reason why we spoke about this is because it's also connected to the midah of Gevura. Okay? Now, but the truth is that if we analyze the psychology of people pleasers and pushovers, so that we'll see that actually it's multifaceted. Okay, so what are we talking about? What does this mean that people that are pushovers? So imagine that somebody cuts you in line. Okay, so if you're a pushover, so you say, "Oh, it's okay. It's like I've got all day. You know, he's probably going to rush. He probably needs it more than me." You know? Okay, and if a coworker asks you to do something that it's their job and it's not your job, and you're going to have to work overtime because of this. And so, if you're a pushover, then you're going to say, "Of course." And if you're at a restaurant and a waiter brings you the wrong thing, if he brings you the right thing, but it's something blatantly off with what he brought you, so okay, it's fine, it's not a big deal. And if you're going to be assertive, then you're going to say something. If you want to go out with friends and your friends suggest something that they would like to do something that you really don't want to do. So if you're a people pleaser, then you can say, "Sure, betach, of course." And if you're going to stand up for yourself, then you're going to say, "How about something else?" If somebody wants to borrow something from you, and you're not comfortable lending it to them because the past 5 times they didn't give it back, whatever, because they broke it, and so if you're a pushover, then you're not going to have what it takes to say no. So if somebody wants to talk to you, and you don't have the time to talk to them, you don't want to talk to them. I don't know if I ever told you that there was this the story that I had this event, and so a neighbor of mine, so he saw a flyer that there was going to be an event, and he was concerned that it's going to be loud, and so he wanted to make sure that it's not going to be I'm going to finish on time, or I'm going to be very quiet, or whatever. And so I didn't open it. Then he writes back, "Hey, you didn't respond." And then the next day, so he calls me on the phone. He calls me again. He calls me a third time. Calls me a fourth time. I'm not sure why he thought that if I didn't reply to 2 texts and 2 calls, that the third call is going to be the one that succeeds. Maybe that's his netzach. That is never give up. And then a week later, so I bump into him, and he says, "Hey, why didn't you respond?" So he says, "I don't know. I didn't want to talk to you." So he said, well, to me that to not answer is to just say, just like, leap yourself, like, leap off, like, and like, so I said, maybe that's the way you talk, maybe that's the way you think, but for me, it's simply that this is not a conversation I'm interested in having. I don't have to have any conversations that I'm not interested in having. So that to have that piece, like, so if somebody would say, "Oh my gosh, he's calling me again. Now I have to answer." Well, I don't have to answer. There's not. I'm in charge. I don't have to answer just because he wants me to. So 1 second. So now, what's the all these just different examples of people who just want to whatever somebody else wants from me. So my instinct is to say, of course. Now, where does it come from? So there's different places that it comes from. So the one thing, which is a Gevurah thing, is people that think that they don't deserve rights. I don't deserve space. I don't have the right to deal with to make my own schedule. I don't have the right to have preferences. That like your preferences are more important than my preferences. Your needs are more important than my needs. So that's certainly a Gevurah problem, right? Another motivation, another psychological motivation of a people pleaser and a pushover would be that I want to be the nice guy. I want to gain friends, and I think that the only way that I can gain friends is if I always say yes, if I don't stand up for myself, and that's similar. That's a lack of self-esteem. That's believing that the only way that I can get friends if I can buy friends. But just being myself, I don't deserve friends. Right? That's also a Gevurah issue. But there's also another, and this is equally, if not more, popular. The reason why people are people pleasers is because they do not like conflict. That they just want to avert. There's a certain tension when I'm going to stand up for myself in a way that says no to you. So then there's a certain awkwardness, and people just want to just avoid that at all costs because they can't stand that awkwardness or that tension of that I'm saying no, and I'm gonna have to deal with the fact that you're going to be disappointed with the fact that I said no, with the fact that I said something, that I said, hey, this is actually not what I ordered, and he might think that I'm saying he's a bad waiter and he might beat me up and whatever. I have this imagination, I have this vision of what conflict looked like, and conflict was so bad. So then I just want to avert conflict at all costs, and that is why I'm a people. That second element, this is not a Gevurah issue. This is a Netzach issue. Okay, this is how do I deal with when there is adversity? Do I have the strength? Do I have the inner strength to overcome that adversary? Okay, so it's the strength of Netzach which allows us to be assertive. Okay, which allows us to be strong in ourselves, to believe in our truths, to believe in our rights, to believe in our path, that nothing is going to stop us. Okay? So now what's important to clarify is that because Netzach is an extension of Gevurah, is an extension of this assertiveness, so it could actually be misinterpreted. It could be misexpressed in the form of, instead of assertiveness, in the form of aggression. Right? A person could think that if I'm going to be a Netzach, if I'm going to be a person who's a victorious person, so then I'm going to beat him to a pulp. And especially if you heard the beginning of class, then what do you do to Amalek? You shoot him, you strangle him. Makas cherev v'hereg ve'avdan, and you destroy him at all costs. And so that's what I'm going to do. Someone's going to stay in my way. I'm going to tear him apart with my bare hands. And so that's aggression. Aggression is a bad thing. Aggression is almost always a bad thing. Physical aggression is almost always a bad thing. Verbal aggression is almost always a bad thing. 99% of the time, if it requires verbal or physical aggression, so that's a sign that I should not be using Netzach. That's a sign that I should be using the trait of Hod, which is surrender, which is just let bygones be bygones. And just I'm not going to allow myself to get swept into this fist fight. And this is not something that I don't have to be gung ho about this. Of course, the exception is if it's first of all self-defense. If the Arab countries are trying to destroy us, so we should beat the pulp out of them. We should strangle them, and whoever's trying to kill us should just surrender or die. And of course the same thing is if it's a question of my Jewish identity. If somebody is trying to get me to get away from Hashem, I'm going to fight them tooth and nail. And that nothing is going to allow the bad guys are not going to allow me to give up my relationship with Hashem. But that's very, very exceptional. Okay, when most of our interactions, it's simply just interpersonal conflict, and with interpersonal conflicts, aggression is never the right answer. So the what's interesting is that it's really built in this idea because the Netzach, because Netzach is really about strength, and aggression, on the other hand, aggression is not about strength. Aggression actually comes from weakness. Okay, what do I mean that it comes from strength? So we said before that the first element of Netzach is not to be a pushover. A pushover is obviously weak, right? Sure, it doesn't have what it takes to stand up against this conflict. He can't take that awkwardness. He can't take that tension. So that's what brings him to be a pushover. So Netzach is to have the strength to be able to not give it. So now there's an interesting pasuk. The pasuk says that in Parshas Balak that hen am kelavi akum uka'ari yitnasa. And we just had a war named after this. That the Klal Yisrael is compared to a lion. And so the Mefarshim over there, the Ibn Ezra and the sefirah, they explain what's special about a lion. A lion is, it's interesting, he's called the king of the jungle, right? But a lion actually, he sleeps most of the day. He looks like a lazy kind of animal, right? And so the Mefarshim explain that what does it mean the Klal Yisrael is compared to a lion? It's because the reason why the lion looks so lazy is because he doesn't need to show off his strength. Okay? He is so confident that he is the king. He knows his strength, so he doesn't need to flaunt it. And that is the pride the Klal Yisrael is supposed to have. That we're like a lion. We don't need to talk about how awesome we are, because we really know it. That if you have to impress everybody so much, there's a thing with the difference between the way millionaires dress and the way billionaires dress. They're millionaires dressed with very expensive clothing, and billionaires dressed with very simple clothing. Okay, because when you're a millionaire, so you want to show everybody that I can afford this, and when you're a billionaire, then you stop caring, because it's so your power is so part of you that you don't need to make the point anymore, right? And so this is a dog barks. A lion doesn't bark. My Rebbe, Rabbi Fashon Levitz, so he told me that his father was once preparing class with him, and so he was preparing the Shir Klali, and so Rabbi Chaim Shulevitz told Rabbi that when I get to this line, I'm gonna raise my voice. What do you mean that? So because he was saying I'm not really so clear about this point. I'm I'm trying to explain. He had a certain kasha and a certain idea that answers the kasha, but it wasn't 1,000% clear how it totally answers the kasha. So the Rav Chaim foresaw that when I explained, then that's why so I'm gonna shout it a little bit because I need to convince myself. So that there's a certain element of when you're shouting, so it's actually coming from a lack of confidence. Right? I once heard that there's a similar thing. There's a similar thing that if you're the tone that we use is indicative of how much confidence we have. That a person with lack of confidence, so he's going to use a higher tone, and a person with more confidence is going to use a lower tone. Like, so, meaning that if somebody says like, I want to do that, so I say no. So that means that I don't have so much conscience. If I say no, or even better, no, then no. There we go. That's confidence. I don't need to raise my tone. I don't need to raise my volume. The confidence speaks for itself. There's a period is much louder than the exclamation point. Right? If I can just say something just as it is, then my actual confidence is more strength than aggression. So the truth is that assertion is about strength, and aggression is actually about weakness. Like, the reason why I'm being aggressive is because I'm so weak, is because I don't have this inner strength. And this really ties together with the other meaning of the word Netzach, and that is that Netzach is about eternal, that in the eternal in the eternal victory, so assertiveness is eternal. I can be assertive forever, right? And whereas aggression is temporary. Today I beat you up, but tomorrow you can come beat me up. You can take a surprise attack. There's nothing permanent about aggression, but there's something permanent about assertiveness, right? So this is a very clear difference between these two midot, and so this is what we're trying to connect with in this week, in this character trait, and it's something that gives us the power of eternity. It's something that gives us the power that we're going to make it in life, the knowledge that there's no such thing as taking no for an answer. There's no such thing as stopping in the middle, and the midah of Netzach is something which brings the geula, because it's only because of this Netzach, it's only because of never giving up that we're going to make it to the end. And so this is the knowledge that we will not take no for an answer, the knowledge that we will always persevere. So this is really what geula is all about. This is something that we've spoken about many times. That this is the essence of Mashiach. The essence of Mashiach is the knowledge that there is going to be a happy ending. That there is no way that there's going to be anything but the most happy ending. And this is how we always explain that this is why that there's so many testimonies that online to the gas chambers in Auschwitz. So this is what the Jews were singing. They were singing that we believe that Mashiach is coming. And so the question is, of all things, why were they thinking about Mashiach when they're about to be killed? So what's Mashiach have to do with anything? They could say, I still believe in Hashem. They could say, I believe that Hashem is going to punish the bad guys. What's Mashiach have to do with anything? But the reason is very simple, because a person that would look at the situation from the outside, so he sees that this is the end, that this is the end of Jewish history, and it looks like we're we're on the bottom. And the belief in Mashiach is that, hold on, this is just one chapter in the story, but there's going to be another chapter. And just hold your horses, just hold your breath, and that there's going to be another chapter, and we're going to have a comeback like you've never seen before, and we're going to be mamish on the top, and we're mamish going to have a geula. And so it's this power of Netzach that allows us to come to the end, because this is what allows us to persevere. And this is what Rabbi Nachman taught us, that the only way to be a Yid is to know that there's going to be this adversary, there's going to be these obstacles, and the knowledge that you're going to make it. There is no way that you're not going to overcome the obstacles. So this is the energy that allows us to overcome. Like this, if you wouldn't believe that you have this midah inside of you, if you wouldn't believe that it's going to be good, then you wouldn't be able to overcome. So I bless us all that in this week of Netzach, that we should mamish be able to internalize this knowledge that this is part of us. This is the fact that we are winners. We are victors. We are we are the ones which are going to succeed in whatever obstacles that are coming our way in our mission, that there is no doubt that our mission is going to have a happy ending, and that to understand that there's going to be manias, there's going to be obstacles, and if there wouldn't be obstacles, it would mean that our mission is not really worth anything, it would mean that we're not really getting anywhere, and so to embrace them, to say, okay, I'm ready, and that I have what it takes, I have the strength to not give up. I have the strength to overcome. I have the strength to be present. I have the strength to know that my path is worthwhile, it's worth fighting for, and therefore whatever is going to come my way, we'll just have to wait. We'll just have to push aside, and I'm going to overcome B'ezrat Hashem. All right, l'chaim.